Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources, articles, research, your own notes, and really dig into them to pull out the most important insights. Today, we're embarking on, well, a pretty significant deep dive. We've got a collection of materials here that seem to shed light on some major shifts in power dynamics.
Yeah, and the potential transformation of some key institutions as well.
Exactly.
Our mission today really is to help you connect the dots. We've got these reports that might seem separate at first glance.
Right.
But when you look at them together, they start forming, a larger narrative.
Yeah.
It's about control, influence.
And this ongoing struggle, it seems, to define the future of democracy.
Precisely. So we're going to unpack those connections, try to distill the key nuggets of knowledge from these varied reports for you.
Absolutely. And the materials you provided, they really do paint a picture of, well, extraordinary times. We're looking at everything from alleged actions by federal forces, maybe operating in unexpected ways, to these high-stakes political chess matches, and even some pretty alarming proposed changes to the justice system itself.
A lot.
It is a lot to cover, yeah, but we're going to walk through it piece by piece. We want to get to the core of what's happening and, what it might actually mean for you.
Okay. Where do we start?
So our sources kick off by detailing some unsettling accounts involving federal forces. Some suggest tactics that maybe go beyond traditional law enforcement.
Okay.
We see a pattern emerging really across different types of incidents. First, you've got these very visible sort of street-level confrontations.
Right.
Like in Washington, D.C., for instance. Accounts describe masked federal agents in Logan Circle, tackling, tasing, punching, even kicking a moped delivery worker. Broad daylight.
Wow. And bystanders.
Well, when bystanders asked for ID, the agents reportedly shot back, "Do I have to answer to you?" And one agent, according to the report, even sneered, "Liberals already ruined this city."
That's quite an image. It presents federal agents in a very confrontational light, doesn't it?
It does.
What do the sources suggest is the purpose behind that kind of overt, almost aggressive display, especially in what seems like a routine situation?
The sources tend to interpret it not just as simple law enforcement, but more as a, quote, calculated show of force designed to terrify.
To terrify?
Yeah, they argue it's aimed at silencing dissent, creating this atmosphere of fear.
Okay.
And not far from that D.C. incident, documents also highlight DEA agents' Drug Enforcement Administration being seen, according to some reports, cozying up to the Proud Boys.
The far-right group.
Yes. And one DEA official was apparently quoted calling them great guys who love America.
So it's not just about the direct confrontation we saw in the first example. It's also about perceived alliances, maybe the messaging involved.
Exactly.
This kind of interaction, as the sources present it, it definitely raises questions about impartiality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the public image of these federal agencies.
Precisely. And it goes beyond D.C. Your sources also detail what they frame as targeted actions. Specific individuals, specific communities.
Like who?
Well, take the account of Tatiana Martinez. She's described as an anti-ICE TikTok activist in L.A.
Okay.
The material suggests she was violently taken down by agents, dragged from her car, a Tesla,
Right.
slammed onto the pavement, and apparently left unresponsive, needed an ambulance.
And the sources suggest this was targeted.
They suggest it was a move specifically to intimidate critics, yes. Then you shift to San Diego. One report describes a father waiting outside his child's elementary school,
Oh, no.
allegedly grabbed by ICU agents, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. His child was inside the school, apparently traumatized.
And this wasn't isolated.
Reportedly the second such incident near San Diego schools in just 2 weeks.
That's concerning.
And another California incident, an 18-year-old high school student just walking his dog,
Okay.
ambushed by IC agents, according to the source. The dog was tied to a tree, its collar cut, let loose into traffic.
Good grief.
Yep.
To the dog.
Thankfully, it survived. But the agents were reportedly overheard joking about making, quote, $2,500 from a bounty on the young man's head,
A bounty.
describing it as a cash for captures racket. That's the term used in the source.
Wow. What's really fascinating here, or perhaps disturbing, is how these different accounts, the street encounters, the targeted arrest, they all seem to echo this consistent theme in the sources.
Which is?
A perception that federal power is being used in ways that, go beyond conventional law enforcement, almost performing a different role.
That theme definitely continues with reports of protester suppression, Portland, for instance.
Ah, Portland. Yes.
Peaceful protesters, including, get this, a U.S. military veteran who fought in Afghanistan.
A veteran.
Yeah. Reportedly blindsided, tackled, pinned, tear-gassed, shot with less lethal munitions by ICE officers.
And witnesses.
Witnesses reportedly shouted things like, "He's a veteran of this country. He's done more for this country than any of you." And these actions, the sources argue, extend to broader community intimidation, too.
Also.
Accounts from Danbury, Connecticut. They describe ICE agents swarming neighborhoods, circling courthouses, abducting people in broad daylight.
Creating a climate of fear.
That's exactly the phrase used. Dozens of agents, vehicles, daily. And even in LA, there was an event. Governor Gavin Newsom was announcing a redistricting ballot initiative at a historic Japanese internment campsite. Very symbolic location.
Right.
Masked ICE agents in military fatigues reportedly harassed attendees.
At that event.
Yes. Governor Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass allegedly called it a provocation, an attempt to intimidate officials and citizens.
So what stands out from all these varied accounts, according to the sources you've gathered, is this really consistent pattern. It's a perceived shift in the role of federal forces, moving beyond just law enforcement to something more visible, arguably more intimidating.
Yeah, the sources describe these actions as, quote, not normal for a free democracy.
Right. Resembling how authoritarian regimes operate is the phrase used.
By silencing dissent by force. Some sources even draw comparisons to Belgrade, Serbia, under a Putin-backed government.
Suggesting a deliberate strategy of fear, intimidation, and control.
Exactly. And this, the sources argue, raises really urgent questions about accountability.
And the very nature of democratic governance when these things are happening.
Definitely.
So, okay, we've looked at how federal power is reportedly being used domestically. How does this connect to the bigger picture?
Well, the sources then pull back the lens, showing how these questions of influence and control extend to the international stage.
Ah, okay.
So our next area of focus from the source material is the, let's say, a complex relationship between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Right, especially with the Ukraine war as a backdrop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The materials point out that while protests against Trump were happening in D.C., L.A., Denver, even Anchorage.
Anchorage. Why Anchorage?
Well, people there were protesting Putin's visit and, concerns about Alaska's history as Russian territory.
Got it. So while all that was happening,
Trump was reportedly golfing down in Florida.
Interesting juxtaposition the sources make there. What about the actual interactions between Trump and Putin themselves? What did the sources say?
Well, at a meeting in Alaska, several accounts claim Trump, quote, rolled out the red carpet for Putin.
Okay.
Reports describe U.S. troops being, and this is a quote, literally ordered to kneel as Putin and his foreign minister arrived.
U.S. troops.
That's what's reported. And Putin's foreign minister apparently wore a USSR shirt.
A USSR shirt.
Yeah, which some sources describe as a deliberate taunt.
You'd think so. And Trump's reaction?
Allegedly, he clapped, smiled, and, quote, played the part of Putin's cheerleader.
What else?
The reports also state Trump echoed Putin's talking points, told Ukraine to hand over the Donbas region.
The very territory Ukrainians are dying to defend.
Exactly. Some sources flat out call it a betrayal.
Strong language.
And adding to the symbolism, Trump reportedly gifted Putin a bald eagle statue.
America's symbol of freedom.
To the man accused of kidnapping, trafficking, mass killings of Ukrainian children. Yes. One source compared it to George Washington handing King George the Stars and Stripes.
Wow. That's quite a comparison. These actions and gestures, as the sources describe them, they certainly paint a picture of, well, unusual diplomatic conduct.
To say the least.
Especially given the gravity of the accusations against Putin regarding Ukraine. What about the wider context? Other failures involved?
Well, then there's the frankly surprising story of Melania Trump's letter to Putin.
Oh, I remember hearing something about this. It was meant to be about the kidnapped children, right?
That was the initial framing, yeah. A strong demand for their return. But the leaked letter, described by some sources as strange, syrupy, almost pageant speech-like.
So, not so strong.
Reportedly made no mention of Ukraine or kidnapped children at all.
Really? What did it say then?
Vague lines about, quote, melodic laughter of children and how Putin could single-handedly restore innocence to the world.
That does sound odd, especially given the context.
Right. Our compilation of documents notes the context. 20,000 to 40,000 Ukrainian children allegedly abducted, sent to re-education, trafficked, abused, killed.
So the letter comes across as
tone deaf and insulting, according to certain sources, arguing it elevated a man accused of these atrocities.
Is there any speculation in the sources about why the letter was like that?
Some sources bring up past incidents, like Russian state TV mocking Melania with nude photos after Trump was elected.
Right.
And they suggest the letter might be influenced by, quote, how much leverage Putin holds over her and her image. They even recall a terrified look on her face near Putin back in 2018.
Pure speculation in the sources, of course, but an interesting angle they raise.
Definitely. And shifting back to the broader impact on Ukraine, on global standing.
Yeah, what do the sources claim there?
They assert Russian attacks on Ukraine doubled since Trump's inauguration.
Doubled.
Yeah, with some concluding Putin feels emboldened and America looks weaker as a result.
What about Trump's claim he could end the war in 24 hours?
He later dismissed that as sarcastic, according to the reports. He had claimed he'd demand a ceasefire from Putin with serious consequences. But according to the material we have, nothing actually happened.
And military analysis.
Quoted by the sources, it suggests even without U.S. support, Russia would take years and suffer millions of casualties to seize the land Trump allegedly wants to, quote, gift wrap for Putin.
So not a quick thing.
Not at all. There's also a notable photo mentioned. Trump, Marco Rubio, Steve Witt with President Zelensky of Ukraine.
Okay, what about it?
Certain sources analyze their expressions. Trump's described as disdain, Rubio's a politician's smirk, and wit, giving off, quote, Tony Soprano's muscle vibes. Implying to these sources an intent to intimidate, not to support.
And what about European allies?
Well, when Zelensky visited Washington, he was reportedly joined by a whole contingent. The European Commission president, prime ministers or chancellors of France, Germany, Italy, Finland, the UK, plus NATO's Secretary General.
A big group.
Described by sources as a united Europe sending a clear message.
That was.
That, quote, Europe doesn't trust Trump to handle this responsibly.
Okay, so this whole complex mix of events, reported behaviors, it really does raise a critical question for you, the listener, to consider. What message does all this actually send to the world about American leadership, about its commitment to allies?
Yeah.
The sources taken together, they suggest a pattern, one that could potentially embolden adversaries.
And maybe lead to America looking weaker, as one source put it, or even surrendering principles on the global stage.
It really prompts us to think about the real-world impact of these perceived shifts in diplomacy.
Definitely. So we've talked about shifts in domestic federal power and now international relations, but the sources show the struggle for control isn't limited to those areas.
Right. It bleeds into the internal political landscape too, doesn't it? And how information is handled.
Absolutely. Which brings us to our next segment. This focuses on, well, an intense struggle for political control through redistricting. Gerrymandering, exactly. And also the, frankly, surprising ways some traditional media outlets are reacting.
Okay, let's dive into that. Texas first.
Let's start with Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
Gerrymandering, just quickly, for anyone unfamiliar, it's redrawing voting districts, usually to benefit one party.
Like moving the goalposts in a game?
That's the common analogy, yeah. Moving them closer to your side. The reports indicate Governor Gray Abbott and Texas Republican leadership are pushing these mid-decade redistricting maps.
Which is unusual, right? Usually it's after the census.
Very unusual. And these maps reportedly heavily favor the GOP.
It's a bold move, strategically, as the sources characterize it.
Yeah.
What's the justification being given, and what do the counter-arguments say?
Well, Abbott's public justification, according to the sources, is claiming it gives more representation to Hispanic and Black communities.
Okay.
However, the same sources assert the maps actually carve up communities of color and dilute minority voting power.
So the opposite effect.
Yeah, that's what these sources argue. Some go so far as calling it gaslighting. One likens it to a wolf putting on a sheep costume.
Strong words. Did Abbott acknowledge the political angle?
Reportedly, when pressed, he acknowledged an arms race, said Democrats already gerrymandered in states like California and New York, and basically threatened retaliation. Like, if they try to redraw 5 more seats in California, Texas can wipe out 10 Democrats here.
An open admission of partisan motives.
And the available material further claims Donald Trump actually demanded Abbott redraw the maps to guarantee Republicans an extra 5 House seats.
So pressure from the top, allegedly. How did Democrats respond?
Well, Texas Democrats reportedly, quote, literally left the state.
To deny a quorum.
Exactly, to prevent the maps from passing. Former President Obama even joined them virtually, cheered them on, framed it as a national fight against partisan gerrymandering.
And California, you mentioned Newsom.
Right. In a countermove, Governor Gavin Newsom is reportedly proposing new congressional maps in California, specifically to offset the Texas GOP's move.
A chess game, as the sources put it.
Exactly. Newsom's also been reportedly trolling Trump on social media.
How so?
Mimicking his all-caps style, issuing these mock final warnings like, Donald Trump, lowest polling president, this is your second to last warning. Stand down now, or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your crooked map.
It's in Newsom's reasoning.
He stated publicly he was just following Trump's own playbook.
Interesting tactic. So this creates this really fascinating dynamic, doesn't it? The political battle isn't just policy anymore. It's about the structure of the electorate itself.
Yeah.
And the sources point out this doesn't just happen in state houses. It plays out very publicly in the media landscape, too.
Absolutely. And our sources point specifically to Fox News' reaction to all this, claiming they're, quote, unraveling or losing it.
How are they reacting?
Reports say they're reading Newsom's social media posts on air like they're deciphering some kind of top-secret intelligence drop. Yeah, and apparently getting visibly upset when Newsom called Trump one of the lowest polling presidents in modern history.
Bitches.
A statement that, according to the sources providing this analysis, is objectively true.
So the sources highlight a perceived hypocrisy there.
They do, noting Fox cheered Trump's insults but then, quote, wilt, whine, and scream civility when someone like Newsom targets Trump or Abbott.
Accusing them of playing the victim card for Abbott after Newsom mocked him.
That's the claim. And there are other examples cited from Fox News commentary.
Like what?
Senator Markwayne Mullin reportedly bragging on air about not wearing a seatbelt in D.C. because he feared carjackings and wanted to escape quickly. The accounts describing this say it made him sound, well, ridiculous, and suggest that in that worldview, paranoia is a badge of honor.
Any economic commentary mentioned?
Stephen Moore, described as a Trump loyalist, reportedly claimed on TV the economy was on fire, inflation under control.
Which the sources contrast with.
With the economic struggles reported by everyday people, yeah. A stark contrast highlighted in the material.
Okay. And one more point about media reactions.
Yes. Finally, the collected reports indicate Fox News has apparently started targeting younger, progressive online reporters. Aaron Parnes is named.
Targeting how?
Attacking him personally, even calling for criminal charges, according to these sources.
Why would they do that? What's the speculation?
Some sources suggest it's because Fox is, quote, scared. Scared of losing the narrative, losing viewership to young creators who operate outside traditional cable news.
Right. So the overarching insight from these particular sources, it's a critical one for you to think about.
Which is?
What actually happens to a democracy when the rules of the game, like voting districts, are constantly being reshaped for partisan gain?
Yeah.
And what's the evolving role of media in that environment? If this gerrymandering arms race continues, the sources suggest elections become less about ideas.
And more about just drawing maps.
Exactly. Potentially leading to what some call democracy in name only. Fewer meaningful choices for you, the voter.
And the media reactions just show how political narratives themselves are being fought over, controlled, and challenged in new ways.
It's all interconnected, a direct reflection of these underlying power struggles.
Okay, which brings us to our final and perhaps most sobering section. We're looking now at some of the most serious claims in our source material. These relate to alleged plans to fundamentally transform the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Right. Foundational institutions, what are the claims?
The materials report that seasoned professionals, top lawyers, career FBI agents are being fired, pushed out, or quitting.
Why?
Due to alleged unlawful conduct and pressure from what the sources are calling the Trump regime.
And is there a specific trigger mentioned?
It's noted that some are being terminated for, quote, even the slightest involvement in investigating January 6th.
Wow. That's a significant claim about the internal workings, the morale within these critical institutions.
It is.
What do the sources elaborate on regarding the proposed new direction for these agencies? Is there a plan outlined?
Yes. Trump, along with figures named as loyalists like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, is reportedly taking concrete steps to fundamentally redirect what the FBI does.
Redirect how?
The vision described in these sources is to turn the FBI into, quote, Trump's own domestic police force.
Instead
of its traditional focus on counterterrorism, national security, complex federal crimes.
A domestic police force. How would that actually look, according to these plans?
Well, the FBI would allegedly be, and this is a quote, roaming the streets, patrolling cities, running night shifts like some kind of militarized local police department.
Using existing infrastructure.
Trump reportedly considered using existing FBI field offices as essentially Trump Police Department locations.
Are there specifics on changes for agents?
Reports mention a national call with over 50 FBI field offices where changes were detailed. Agents getting tasers, spending more time on violent crime instead of national security cases. Yeah. And this next point, our sources highlight as particularly concerning for some observers.
What is it?
Allowing people from other federal agencies, like ICE, to join the FBI after only abbreviated training, regardless of whether they have a college degree or the usual FBI skill set requirements.
Abbreviated training for FBI roles.
Yes, described in the sources as reckless and dangerous, potentially putting national security and communities at risk.
Are there other changes reported? Staffing levels?
The FBI has also reportedly been told to cut about 15% of its workforce. That's nearly 6,000 people.
Wow. That's a huge cut.
Likened by one source to dismantling a fire department in the middle of wildfire season.
And agents' duties.
Reportedly being ordered to take part in immigration enforcement, patrol D.C. streets at night.
Which is not their typical role.
Right. Sources say it's not why people join the FBI, it's wasting expertise, like, quote, asking a brain surgeon to start pulling teeth.
The implications of these proposed changes, as they're analyzed in your sources, they seem profound. This isn't just presented as tweaking priorities. It sounds like a fundamental reshaping of core institutional functions.
Exactly. And the sources claim this is by design.
Meaning?
To, quote, reprogram the FBI to serve Trump, not America. Kash Patel is quoted telling agents, if you don't want to be part of Trump's police force, there's the door.
What about former agents? Are they weighing in?
They're reportedly sounding the alarm, stating these changes could leave the country dangerously exposed to real threats, making America less safe, both locally and nationally.
And the core principle at stake.
The material really emphasizes that the FBI is supposed to be independent, serving the law, the Constitution, not the president personally.
Right.
Turning it into a personal police force, they argue, is the kind of move you see in authoritarian regimes.
And morale inside.
Purportedly cratering, which of course leads to a loss of invaluable expertise.
So the bottom line from these sources.
They conclude that if the FBI becomes a tool of one man, then the whole idea of independent law enforcement in America is essentially gone.
Leaving democracy, freedoms, security itself potentially up for grabs.
That's the stark warning.
The essential insight, then, from these reports is really about checks and balances. When the very institutions designed to protect the rule of law are allegedly being reshaped for personal loyalty, for political goals, it creates this cascade effect throughout the entire system.
Yeah.
Our sources are suggesting this is potentially an unprecedented move, one that could reshape America in really fundamental ways, impacting the very framework of how we're governed.
Okay. We have covered a lot today. From those allegations of federal overreach on the streets,
right,
to the complexities of international relations, the Trump-Putin dynamic, Ukraine.
Then the high-stakes world of political redistricting, the gerrymandering battles.
And finally, these potential transformations of critical law enforcement agencies like the DOJ and FBI.
What really stands out to me, looking back across this whole deep dive, is just how interconnected all these issues truly are.
You see the threads, don't you?
You really do. The sources highlight this consistent theme running through everything. It's about the nature of power.
How it's acquired.
How it's maintained, how it's challenged, and ultimately, what all of that means for every one of us who relies on these systems.
And ultimately, I think what these sources really underscore is just how important it is for you, the listener, to stay informed, to understand the complexities behind the headlines. Because these aren't just isolated incidents, are they? They're pieces of a much larger puzzle.
A puzzle that directly affects our daily lives and shapes the future of our society.
Definitely.
Which really prompts us to consider a final question here. If the very foundations of our democratic institutions are increasingly subject to this kind of intense political pressure, this potential fundamental restructuring, how can citizens best ensure their voices are heard? How can they protect their rights amidst such a profound shifts?
That is a powerful thought to leave you with, something to mull over as you continue to explore these ideas and, connect the dots for yourself.